G'day, mate. And it is a fantastic day today, isn't it, J-Mac?
Oh, every day is fantastic. Every day you wake up is an absolute blessing.
You feeling all right, mate? It's starting to sound like me.
It's not been a bad day. It's not been a very productive weekend, busy weekend, but
good.
It's nice to feel needed every now and again.
That's good, man. Well, tonight we're going to be covering something that's very, very interesting. For this show, we've been quite successful with our wrestling episodes, so I thought it might be a wee bit of something to cover this because it particularly goes into something that we've covered here on this show. I think it's like episode 4. There was 6 episodes to wire through, and if you're not like wrestling in the veins like me, it's going to be quite tough for the normal person, which we'll get into. But for me, I like inhaled this. But and I'll get into what my thoughts were on it, right? But today we're going to cover that. But before we do, let's put a wee shout out to Liam Short, absolute legend. Look at this motherfucker,
man. I bet he wasn't expecting that. Mate, you will learn, never send us photos or videos of anything, because it will end up on the show. Much appreciated. Thanks for your fandom.
Absolutely. J-Mac has learned this the hard way.
Could you know if I earned it first, mate? Sake. You see the lines in it and everything.
In fact, I'm sure I earned it in some sort to put the logos and that on it. But huge shout out to Liam Short, absolute legend of a guy. Went and got a Jibber Jabber t-shirt. Just the fact that he cares enough about the show to sport it is absolutely humbling.
What's he done to his face? Has it got a sharp label in it or something?
What was he done it as a week?
Yeah, he's got a wee scar. This is when he writes in and said, "Oh, I had a tumour, I had to get taken out, and I feel like
a dick." Probably. I hope for just entertainment purposes he had a tumour.
I guess even if he doesn't, he's going to text in and say he did.
Had a tumour. Right.
That's exactly what you would do.
Just take the wee screenshot and put it up. So thank you, Liam. Absolute wee legend of a guy. Thank you for supporting the show and everybody that tunes in and shares the episodes and all that cool stuff. So before we get into it, I'll play the trailer for everybody. Donna Fabian, it's Fairbairn. Good evening, lads. Good evening, my sister. Hope all is well. So here we go. I'm going to go ahead and play the trailer for everybody that's a wee bit unfamiliar. And I think this episode's going to be good. It's going to be a good wee hour because I'm coming at this as a complete wrestling fan. J-Mac is a toe dipper. So it's going to be good for the people that don't watch wrestling to get the same type of questions as J-Mac will and the same kind of outlook. And then you've got me who'll just completely run away at it. So it's quite a long trailer. I might cut it out halfway through, but here's a wee trailer for it. Leave it at that. Holy shizmo. By the way, I can tell when they've used creative editing on the trailer and because I have grown up listening to like daily. Even my kids are saying to me, I've got my phone when I'm doing the dishes or whatever, and it sits and I've got one AirPod in and I'm listening to wrestling interviews. It's something that there's many people like me that if you really like wrestling, you will inhale it to the point you've heard every story, right? You even know the way a certain wrestler will speak. So it's interesting listening to that and knowing where they've clipped things from different conversations. And they've taken, like Vince McMahon in that trailer there was clearly describing what it's like to become a wrestler. And they've used that and made it look like he's describing himself about losing who he is. Right, it's absolutely not the case. So it's interesting. It's very interesting. Before we get right into it, Vince came out the day before. I don't know if you want to read that, J-Mac. Save me stuttering on myself. Can you read it? Can you see it?
I will do.
This is a statement from Vince McMahon the day before. Sorry.
I don't regret participating in this Netflix documentary. The producers had an opportunity to tell an objective story about my life and the incredible business I built, which were equally filled with excitement, drama, fun, and a fair amount of controversy and life lessons. Unfortunately, based on an early partial cut I've seen, the doc falls short and takes the predictable path of conflating the Mr. McMahon character with my true self, Vince. The title and promos alone make this evident. A lot has been misrepresented or left out entirely in an effort to leave viewers intentionally confused. I wasn't confused. The producers used typical editing tricks with out-of-context footage and dated sound bites, etc., to distort the viewer's perception and support a deceptive narrative. In an attempt to further their misleading account. The producers use a lawsuit based on an affair I ended as evidence that I am, in fact, Mr. McMahon. I hope the viewer will keep an open mind and remember that there are two sides to every story. All right, mate.
Well. Janice says, "Hey guys, hey Janice, hope all is well this week, my friend. Hope you're doing well." Donna says, "Can't believe what Vince McMahon has done to his face." Well,
It's watching it. I was like, he looks like one of the Riddlers. Remember the Riddlers?
yeah, aye. It definitely was that. So my expectations, and we'll talk a wee bit about our own expectations, right? So there's Vince McMahon that a wrestling fan understands, and there is Vince McMahon that a non-wrestling fan understands. And I mean, I think only a wrestling fan would understand what I'm saying here, but to truly understand what we know of Vince as a wrestling fan, you have to grow up watching wrestling, because you can see Vince's handprints on everything when it comes to wrestling, right? To the point where if someone was getting over with the fans, which means they were getting popular, the fans would cheer them. If a wrestler you liked was not great, but back in the day, if they started getting over on their own, Vince would bury them, and you would see it happening on TV, right? The fans would be loud when they come out. People would be buying their merchandise. There's a buzz about it, and then before you know it, they're getting their ass absolutely handed to them week after week, and you're like, straight away as a wrestling fan, you'd be like, "Fucking Vince, man, fuck's sake!" Because Vince
Is
is
it
like,
because it didn't happen on his terms?
100%, because
Right.
he's like, "I didn't say you were allowed to be popular, so see next week you're going to be kissing Rikishi's ass." He used to make you look stupid. So you could, as a wrestling fan, I think it's fair to say, you could see that the mind flare of Vince McMahon was all over the product, to the point where you wouldn't get angry at the wrestler for losing. You'd get angry at Vince for booking him like shit, because you could just tell, right? And I think the documentary done really well at covering that, especially when they talk about Triple H is doing a talking heads, and he says, I was getting married to Stephanie McMahon in real life, and Vince says, "Let's do it on pay-per-view and turn it into an angle." And Stephanie was like, "No, absolutely not." So the next week he booked her in a street fight. He kicked her ass for saying no.
Aye. The thing is, like, as it's exposed kind of throughout, that there are certain times that she was asked to take part in storylines that she wasn't too keen on. And
100%.
one of them in particular that she wouldn't even talk about, it was Vince that told the guy
Oh,
what his idea was. It's fucking disgusting.
I've heard this one before. Absolutely. The one you're alluding to is the storyline that Stephanie was pregnant, which she was, with Triple H, Paul Levesque's baby in real life. And Vince was like, "Let's do a storyline here where we try to find out who the father of your baby is." And it's revealed to be Vince.
So messed up, man.
Oh,
That guy really is fucked in the head, in my opinion.
he's
Um,
he's something else. He's
when I
something
heard
else.
that, my jaw kind of dropped.
Well, this is nothing news to me, and I'll get into that a wee bit as well. Janice says, "Yep, we're all good here. Thanks. Good." Janice. Ross Caldwell says, "When I first watched wrestling in the early 90s, I genuinely had no idea that Vince McMahon was the owner. When I went back to it in the late 90s, it had changed almost beyond recognition." 100%. And that documentary really brings that up. I can totally. So I was a fan when Hogan was the man, right? So that was my early years. And Vince McMahon was only known as he was a commentator, so no one actually knew that he was the owner, right? I mean, like the what information wasn't as easy accessible. Then you skip to the late 90s, where the Attitude Era is in full swing, and he's playing the evil boss. Even then, now this is hard to believe for anybody that wasn't there, right? But even then, you still kind of assumed that Vince McMahon was just a character playing the boss, right? And I think it was late 90s where I was like, wait a minute, Vince actually is the boss. Like, to say, "Oh, Vince," like, "Oh, I'd love to meet Vince McMahon, the owner." You kind of felt to yourself like, of course he's not the real owner. He's just a character playing the owner. But when you realize, wait a minute, he is actually the owner. Like, to me, that was mind blowing. Because it's a good thing that Ross brought that up there, because all the OG fans will remember not thinking he was actually the owner, because there was a point where you just didn't think he was, because he'd come in as a wee commentator and then played this. He just was so good at playing the Vince McMahon character, getting his ass kicked off, "Stone Cold Steve Austin," that you You just could not fathom that this guy actually owned this company, and it was amazing to revisit that. Ginny says he was a showman for sure. Oh, that I know. Imagine stooping that low to want an incest storyline with your own child. Wi-Fi here is spotty because of storms the last couple of days. Well, I hope you don't all end up underwater, Janice. Hope you got your canoe there ready.
It's been pretty grim over there, eh? I saw some footage for Florida, and it's mental. There's like water smashing through their windows and flooding houses. Not very much fun, I'd imagine.
I hope you keep your head above the water, Janice. You're no sailing downstream in no time, because I'll think about you. So this documentary, for me, my expectations were, this is going to be like cameras following Vince everywhere. We'll get a deep, deep inside look at Vince McMahon. I've got a DVD over there. I can literally see it from here. I'll not get it, but it's a DVD, and it's called McMahon, and it's a WWE produced documentary on Vince McMahon, and I thought that was very good. So I thought, right, I'm expecting this Netflix series to trump it, and I thought, okay, I know that they took like how many ever 100 hours of Vince McMahon's interviews, and they basically didn't use a lot of it, and I thought, why? And then I watched it, and I was like, right, I think maybe the allegations that came out made them go, let's go another way here. Also, the fact that WWE have just signed a massive multi-year deal with Netflix, where WWE will be more accessible now than it ever has been. I thought it's not in their best interest to really paint this guy as what you think he is, or is alleged to be, or may actually be. So when I put this on and started watching it, I got to like episode 3, and I'm like, this is not a Vince McMahon documentary. This is the story of wrestling to anybody that doesn't know wrestling.
That's exactly what I thought. But as I was watching it, like even in the short time that I've had my toe dipped in the thing, you know, you've said to me, like I've said to you before, that the wrestling or the wrestling show itself doesn't really interest me, but the behind the scenes stuff and the fucked up stuff that happens, I actually really find quite interesting.
100%.
So I was as I was watching it, I was like, I know a lot of this stuff already.
Look at you, Jimmer.
Like even I knew a lot of this stuff already, and I'm like, Kev will be watching this bored at his tits because he knows it all. Am I right?
Well, I wasn't bored, because you know what it was for me? I was watching Hulkamania Rise again, and I was just like, there's the fan in me, mate. Like, yes. Like, I was loving it because it actually made me feel a wee bit like a child again. But then I found myself going, yes, Hulk Hogan. And then I'm like, I thought this was about Vince. You know what I mean? But what I would say to anybody that might want to get into wrestling, or is intrigued about what wrestling is and thinks, it's too late to start now, watch this, because I think it's more about WWE, the WWF, and the backstory than it is about Vince. I think Vince is a sprinkling over the main story. So I was kind of disappointed, but again, not disappointed, because I'm watching. It gets to the NWO and the Monday Night Wars, and you're reliving it, and it's told without the bias, because WWE always tells this story, you know, the Monday Night Wars, and it's always in the favor of WWE. You know, the winners write history.
Yeah.
It was nice to see it. It was nice to see it.
I was brought up in Britain. I know the winners write history.
William Wallace got killed by the English. Lost. William Wallace. Do you know what I mean? Matthew Moon says, it's mad when you find out all the wrestlers you loved as a kid were dickheads and the baddies were all sound as fuck. Shawn Michaels being prime. Janice says, I love wrestling. Our son is into WWE as well. Oh, class, man. Didn't know you loved wrestling, Janice. We have a chat about this. She says, I watched the first episode of this. Definitely stick with it. Stick with it. I mean, everything that I'm surrounded by is caked in wrestling, because that's me as a kid. Absolutely loved it.
I'm like you, though. Like, I found some of it interesting, but I was quite disappointed by the fact that it wasn't. I was expecting more of an expose on him.
Of course.
And a kind of true telling of what he's like. And I think it tried, but it, like you said, it just seemed to me like a history of the WWE as
100%.
opposed to him. There was bits where he was telling stories for his childhood, which is the type of stuff I was expecting more of.
Yes.
And it just didn't deliver on that for me. And like I said, I knew a lot of it already, which is mental considering I don't even watch wrestling.
Especially when I got to the Owen Hart stuff. a lot of people I know, my peers, were all like, "Oh, that's the first time I've ever seen the blood on the ring." I'm like, see if you go back to the episode J Mac and I done years ago, we covered this.
That was
Like,
4 years ago. That was now.
I know it's mental, eh?
Mm.
But that wasn't it. It wasn't news to us. We kind of really looked at it. I think Dark Side of the Ring does a much better job at the inside look at wrestling. I think this was what it was supposed to be. But I would say that as far as getting to know Vince, like, I am the guy that if you want to let me, so there was a couple things, and I'll go into them, that I was like, well, I never knew that. Very minimum though. And I was like, your audience here is me. So you're going to teach me more about Vince than I don't already know. And everything I already know. Here's the most interesting thing is Vince never does interviews. He never does podcasts. You don't know anything about him via him. You don't get his perspective from him. It comes from everybody around him that's worked with him. So you can find people on the internet saying, you know, he's a piece of shit. You can find people on the internet saying, I'll take a bullet straight between the eyes for him because he's done so much for me. So I think he is very much a flawed individual, but there's definitely a heart in there. And you find that with many big businessmen and the power trip, that they do tend to treat people the way they want to. But, you know, if you're in the right position, you can see. I used to work for a company. I'll not name the company, right? It wasn't the one that we worked at together. And there was a woman that worked there that everybody used to always be like, oh, fuck, like, oh no, I've lost my name badge, but I didn't want to go in there and ask her for it because it'll be like, I don't want to face her to tell her I've lost my name badge. And I'm thinking to myself, we're fucking human beings, man. And you kind of walk into a room and say, by the way, this thing that can fall off my apron at any point has fallen off. Can I have a new one, please, so I can do my job properly? Because you're going to pick me up anyway for no having one, so I might as well come to you and get one. I'm thinking, you can't do that, right? And for me, I was like, what? I was never intimidated by her, but everybody was. She was like the Vince McMahon. But the thing is, I had some times, and this was many years ago, where I saw the human side of her, and I went, yeah, and I mind saying it, I was like, you know what? You're not actually an arsehole. she's like,
who said I'm an arsehole? Like, everybody says you're an arsehole. No me, everybody else though. Like, every one of them individually. I can tell you when they all told me. I can tell you what mood they were in when they told me. I can tell me why they said you're an arsehole. But it didn't come from me, right?
No, it did. The thing is, so I would just go in and say, look, and I might say it to her. I was like, you're not actually an arsehole. And she's like, who's saying I'm an arsehole? And I literally said, oh, just everybody. I
was just kidding. It turns out it's 100% true.
I never threw anybody under the bus though. However, I would have. No. Like, I would have, just to go back and tell that person, oh, by the way, you better watch. She's gunning for you. I told her you called her an arsehole. Like, I would have 100% done that, but she wasn't gunning for blood. She was just more like taken back that everybody thought she was an arsehole. But my point was that I saw a very human side to her, but I also saw the shitty side. But I thought, nah, contrast. I think there are people who are deemed arsehole and actually might not be you. Janice says, heck yeah, I watched wrestling back in the 80s and 90s, just picked it back up a couple of years ago. Well, a good time to pick it up, Janice, because it's actually kicking ass right now, not AEW. That's another story. Matthewman says, as a kid, nothing better than watching the dentist beat up a Mountie in a wrestling ring. The gimmicks were awesome back then. They were. The Mountie, that's the dentist went on to become Kane. That's Glenn Jacobs. The dentist, Isaac Yankum. These are names that Vince came up with. Isaac Yankum. Hilarious.
See, that to me is just so
Vince. 100%.
Like, how can grown men be entertained by such fucking stupidity?
Well, back then it kind of was. Ross says, I got right into the dark side of the ring during lockdown. It was phenomenal. J Mac is right about the backstage stuff. It's fascinating. 100% always has been. There are businesses that make money purely off of talking about it, called dirt sheets. Janice says, there's a lot about me you don't know. Lol. I'm not a prim, proper lady. You sound more prim to me than anybody else. Aye. Those silly gimmicks back then became dated, which led to the Monday Night Wars, because Eric Bischoff was like, you know, maybe we don't do hokey pokey type wrestling. Maybe we do, just call them by their real name. The Mountie, Tatanka, Hacksaw Jim Duggan. We even sat with Marty Jannetty, remember? And
that guy's a fucking lunatic,
right? So Holy shit, man. So we like that was the golden age of WWE, WWF, is when the characters were all mental. You know, the Undertaker, believe it or not, fit into that category of the Mountie, the Shockmaster, which WCW, the Undertaker. But the Undertaker managed to keep his gimmick alive by continuously evolving, becoming something a bit. He's one of the ones that actually done it and took it as far as it could go, which is interesting. But if you watch the documentary, it's all full of that kind of stuff. The type of things that were in this, where I was like, oh, I didn't know his point of view on that. It was actually funny to see Hulk Hogan, who is branded as one of the biggest bullshitters in WWF, right? So Hogan has folk like me being like, yeah, it's my man, fucking Hulk Hogan all the way. But the people behind the scenes, a lot of people don't like Hulk Hogan, right? Including Jesse Ventura. And it goes back to the prime days of Hulkamania, right? And for many years, Jesse Ventura's been asked, why do you not like Hulk Hogan? You guys were like best friends. He's like, because he stooged on me. I tried to, what does he say? I tried to unionize the business, but my friend Hulk Hogan, he stooged on me, right? And for years, Hogan's just patched it. And usually Hogan would always say, and he'd always try and come out as a good guy. But in this documentary, he's flat out like, yeah, I went, brother, and I told Vince. And I was like, nice to see you, like, to see that. For so many years, we've heard Jesse's side, and it's nice to see Hogan actually own up and go, do you know what? I did stooge him. Because usually he just talks shit. He's like, I didn't do that.
He's you. Everybody says you're an arsehole, Vince.
Nobody says I'm an arsehole. It's only you calling me an arsehole, you wanker.
I never called you an arsehole.
I thought you just called me a wanker.
Oh, calm down.
Did you call me a wanker?
You on roids.
Where's my wee button that turns everything red? Hogan. I don't know. Hogan didn't do it for comedic value. Hogan, I don't know. Here's a question for you, J-Mac. Watching it, when it got to the Hulk Hogan stuff, which was fairly early on, did it seem like everybody spoke about Hogan in the sense that he tried to keep others down to keep his spot on the card?
Not that I noticed.
Did you not?
No.
Because that's 100% the backstage rhetoric that's used from everybody that was in that era was, I was supposed to be working with Hogan, and then last minute things got changed, and all these years later I find out it's because Hogan went to Vince and was like, that doesn't work for me, brother, and many times would not like do the job, so to speak, to put others over because he wanted to maintain that spot on the wrestling card. It's at this point now where everybody kind of believes that is the scenario. But I just wondered, as a non-wrestling fan, whether or not that came across to you.
No, I genuinely didn't notice. It might be because, sometimes I was kind of tuning out because the whole documentary series wasn't what I was expecting and hoping for.
It is interesting now.
Like, I'm not going to lie, there was a few times where I just started farting about on my phone because I was like, this is boring.
No. Well, hey, it's you're being honest. By the way, did you notice as well with the Owen Hart part, when it got to that, I was like, we've covered this at length. But did you notice that even Brett for the first time says, I kind of thought, maybe they just killed him. Like, that was, I had jaw dropped. I was like, Brett for the first time saying that back then he thought at one point, did they do this to fuck with me? Of course it has to be Brett, right? Brett the Hitman Hart. Everything's about him. He's such an ego, man. Did you get that? Did you get that? Did you not get that? Even
no, I've always felt kind of sorry for him.
That's because all he does is bitch and moan about him getting screwed. But fuck me, it happened one time. Do you know what I mean? His brother dying, I totally get. The thing is,
that's quite a thing, yeah.
No, good.
Speaking of which, by the way, kudos to Eileen, my late brother's missus.
Aye.
She organised for all of us, all his siblings, to get a memento.
Yes, I saw Heather's, which was really sweet.
And I got this plectrum with his fingerprint on it.
Oh, that's excellent. See, I told you she was all right. No, that's really nice.
I was really, really pleased with that.
So you're going to friend her on Facebook now then? You're like, settle down.
moving swiftly on. No, she's been brilliant since that happened. So,
well, that's
but
good, eh?
just thought I'd mention that because it's
Aye,
proud of her for that one.
that's really nice. That's class, man. I saw that Heather got a wee thing as well, which was pretty decent.
Mhm.
Did you see that? Yeah.
I haven't seen it. Actually, Heather came over here and stayed last night and had a wee drink, and she meant to put it on, but she forgot to put it on.
Did she get pished? Did you get her pished? I spoke to her the other day, but she's no let on.
It was nothing to do with me getting her pished. Like every 2 minutes, she was basically ringing a bell with a glass in there. Come on, I'm empty. I'm empty. She managed to get through about 59/60ths of a bottle of gin. It was quite impressive.
No, I've seen her getting proper pished before. I've seen her. She can drink like when she's no snap marine fucking legs. She can drink.
Aye, we spoke about that briefly. I know.
No accidents at your gaff?
No, because I don't try and demonstrate safe fucking subduing very, very unsafely.
No, I done it safe. That's the thing. 100% safe.
No. If you'd done it safe, she wouldn't have snapped her entire knee. That's the whole point in doing it safely. So listen, 100%. It was only your knee that went. If I'd done it unsafely, I'd have snapped your ankles as well.
No, 100% done it safe. She'll even tell you that. I just, for some reason, her fucking bones are so weak, man.
Aye, I'm sure she'll appreciate that.
I've said that to her. She agreed.
You're like, oh, it's because your trainer's tread's gripping on the carpet. Aye.
She just didn't move her leg, that's all. But it's one of those weird phenomenons. Donna says, I heard that when Brett was talking to Vince after his brother died, he was asking about his own career and nothing about his brother. Did you hear that? 100%. Vince McMahon spoke about this in a documentary of some kind, where when Vince phoned Brett to be like, yo, sorry about your brother and all that, Brett went off for like 40 minutes bitching and moaning about how Vince had screwed him. And he's like, I phoned to literally talk to you about your brother, and all you've done is talk about yourself. How weird. So that I did hear that. And that does sound like Bret Hart. That's awesome, Jay. Oh yeah, the plectrum.
Yeah, I like that look in your face. Like, what can Jordan possibly have said that was awesome?
No, it was like, that's awesome, Jay, that Heather left without breaking in. Where's my that's awesome, Janice? Interesting enough as well, it touched upon Chris Benoit very briefly. Did you not tell me as well he was coming to your work? Or he did come to your work back in the day?
He did when I worked at Sky. It was like a family day thing, and Chris Benoit came in to visits with the families.
Did you see him? No. Why no?
I can't remember if I was just disinterested or if I wasn't working when he was in or on holiday or something. I don't know, but he was definitely there. So was Tim Westwood. Remember that fanny?
No.
Do you remember Pimp My Ride UK?
Oh, I remember Pimp My Ride.
Like a 50-year-old white guy trying to be black. And that's his whole persona. Like as a radio DJ, that was his whole thing. He's just a fud knuckle, man. It was funny though, because he was just wandering about the canteen, kind of looking at folk, waiting for them to come up and talk to him, and nobody was asked that he was there.
The unfamous famous guy.
Aye,
nothing worse. It's like when you go to a convention and you see a table just empty as fuck.
Oh, like, you feel so sorry for them though. Eh? It's like, I mean, I remember walking by Lou Ferrigno's table and nobody was interested. I was like, Jesus,
wow, that's scary, eh? Because they don't look at him as the Hulk, not the new generation.
Yeah, so that was a bit depressing.
So Vince talks about how like loyalty is a big thing with him. It's like, but he's had several affairs throughout the years.
He's a complete hypocrite. I mean, it becomes obvious that he's a complete hypocrite. Why can I not say that? Hypocrite. I mean, he was like, it was when Bischoff was taking all his guys, and he was like, "That's not the way it's done." It's exactly what he did, but it was still in territory.
Of course.
It's like you're a fucking hypocrite. I think the guy's a fucking narcissistic sociopath.
Yeah,
I really do. I don't. You mentioned having a heart. I don't think so, man. I think the guy's a fucking loon.
It is there. It is there because I've heard many good stories, right, from different wrestling podcasts and stuff. It is there. It doesn't excuse what it does.
One thing I would say though is I can't quite understand how he's surprised at the direction the documentary went in. Look at the fucking picture that they used to advertise it for the last month. It's not the most what a lovely guy photo I've ever seen. I mean, look at him, man. He's like a fucking 80s horror villain.
Just needs a wee swastika. Donna says, "What's your thoughts on Vince not taking any sort of responsibility for any of the deaths?"
Narcissistic sociopath. That's exactly like taking no responsibility for the CTE that apparently caused Chris Benoit's mental break.
They're like, even Stone Cold, they're like, yeah, it's not a real thing. Chris Nowinski, who's a Harvard graduate, is like, no, it is scientifically. There's all the research and all the facts. It is. It's like saying, water is not a thing. It's like, no, it fucking is. Like,
I don't believe water's wet.
No, but it is though. Yeah, I don't believe it though. But it is. Do you know what I mean? That's just the way you see it. No.
I lost a wee bit of respect for Stone Cold at that moment. I was like, what are you saying, man? Are you trying to protect yourself in some way?
I think probably. I think Austin's very old school. Austin, by the way, Stone Cold Steve Austin is a guy that everybody hails, and rightly so, where WWE and WWF is concerned, right? He's earned it all, right? But as someone to respect, this guy beat the shit out of his wife like several times.
You could never tell by looking at
him. Right. So I don't know. Like I'm just no. Personally, I don't know if there's much there to respect. But as wrestling goes, he's one of the greatest of all time, and you got to love the Austin pop. Back to Donna's question, the thoughts on Vince not taking any sort of responsibility. I think he does shy away from responsibility. Look at that shit with Owen. Owen Hart 100% was like, I didn't want to do this. Seriously, don't like heights. I don't feel safe up there. I don't want to do it. Please, I don't want to do it. They're like, do it. He's like, I don't want to do it. What if I die? You won't. Do it. I don't want to do it. I don't want to do it. Did.
Aye. How many people have died after hearing the words, "You'll be fine"? It's like the harness just came in for Timu. It's fucking perfect.
I know. And when you know, even like Dark Side of the Ring, this is where Dark Side of the Ring really owned Netflix, right? Did you see the hook? Remember we covered it back on our earlier episodes with Todd Surprise. The hook in which Owen Hart was held onto, the one that snapped, like was something that you wouldn't even you wouldn't even attach something to your bicycle using this through fear of it coming away. And this guy's body was suspended above an arena. Fucking bonkers, man. Wolfman's got nards. Nice to see you, my friend. Slightly off topic. Have you seen the Iron Claw? I'm still greeting after nearly a year. By the way, phenomenal film about the Von Erich family. And by the way, see, when I watched that, I was calling this to the wife. At this point, Ric Flair should come in it, and next minute, styling, profiling, woo! I was like, here we go, man.
How bad was that guy, though?
Shocking, man.
How did they cast that guy?
The easiest thing to cast, and they cast it so wrong.
That's the thing, though. I mean, he's probably one of the most impersonatable guys in wrestling.
100%.
You know what I mean? Because he's so over the top, and that's the thing about impressions. It's easy to do impressions of the really, really distinctive voices and mannerisms and characters.
Yep.
Like, actually, like your mate Todd does a great impression of Shawn Michaels. Like, it's awesome.
That's his goat, though. That's his.
It's really good, but it's because he's got such a distinctive voice. I can't even do it, but it's really
like more like Arnie. That's on his channel.
I actually do a really good Stu Arnold watch. I'm brilliant and nobody loves me.
Now you sound like. I can't put my head there.
But to answer that question, I haven't seen the Iron Claw yet. I started it, but I started it late at night and I got quite bored. So I don't think I had the focus for it. But I will revisit.
To what I understand exactly what part nards Wolfman's got nards. I understand completely the part he's talking about because it is about family. And if Now in your life, when you finish it, oh, you'll be screaming because it resonates. Their story resonates more now with yours than it did when you first tried to watch it. So fucking prepare yourself.
I think I was just
great.
really struggling with Zac Efron's face as well. Like they
He done a great job.
they had to zoom out every time his face was on screen. It's a strange looking face he's got now. He was such a beautiful, beautiful looking man, and now he looks like one of the Mr. Men. It's weird.
Well, watch it when you get a chance. It is one of the best wrestling biopics that exists. Shout out to A24 who kicked ass. Robozuna VR says hi. And
hi.
Ross Caldwell says an insight into Vince McMahon's sense of responsibility. Steve Austin said that Vince McMahon original idea for Austin to fight Mike Tyson for real. Yeah.
Oh my god.
Stone Cold's like, hey Vince, I don't think that's gonna go down too well. Give me a hell yeah. Thing is, like again, Vince just.
I'm just imagining Tyson using one of like Stone Cold's lines on it. I know. Don't take the death whipping personally, fan.
Honestly, the thing is, Mike Tyson would have killed Steve Austin naturally, right? They did do a thing like that. It was called the Brawl for All back in about, I think it was 1989. The Brawl for All, which was they took wrestlers, real wrestlers, tough guys, and they done, well, let's do an actual real fight, and we'll do it as a tournament. And Bart Gunn fucking leathered everybody. Right, even the hard men, and then the winner gets to fight Butterbean in a real fight. And Bart Gunn's like, okay, I kicked everybody's ass, but I'm not a fucking boxer. Like, I'm just a hard man. I'm probably gonna get killed. Vince is like, nah, you'll be fine. Butterbean fucking leathered him.
I'll like, have a look at that. I'll have a look at that.
What did this achieve? Yeah, Hardcore Holly, Bradshaw, all the real hard men of WWF went into this fucking brawl for all. And Bart Gunn, who you don't even know who he is, right? Do you know Belly Gunn?
No, I know Tommy Gunn.
He's dead. Bart and Belly Gunn were the smoking guns early on, and then Belly Gunn went on to become Mr. Ass, the Ass Man. Belly Gunn, no, good name. Mr. Ass. I know, strange, right? But Bart then kind of loitered around as Bart Gunn before he was released, and he even got released after getting his ass kicked off Butterbean. So it's almost like set up to fail. There are many great personalities in wrestling, many great wrestlers that never get a chance. This is the biggest issue with wrestling is this. You could be the absolute best at every aspect of wrestling, but if Vince McMahon is like, nah, I don't see it, you'll never make good money. You'll never be at the top. It's not based on your skill. It's not based on your athletic ability. And you can say it is, right? But there's been many times where people have broke through the glass ceiling only to be fucking punted right back down to the bottom. Purely because Vince was like, did they say you could do that?
Mm.
You know what I mean? And then there's wrestlers that suck ass. Bill Goldberg, who shot to the top because, I mean, I know that wasn't Vince, but there are wrestlers like Bill Goldberg who were never great wrestlers, right? The Ultimate Warrior was never a great wrestler. He was an absolute arse in real life. But because Vince was like, this is my guy, the guy made so much money, the guy was the champ, you know? And yet all the while there was people far more deserving that don't. And I think that's the biggest bugbear with that, you know. Matthew says Butterbean nearly killed that guy. I know.
You need to send me a link to that fight.
Well, mate, you need to watch. You need to actually watch a wee. I'm sure there'll be a wee documentary on YouTube about the Brawl for All, where you get to see everybody fighting for real in WWF. Right? It was a weird time. Blame Vince Russo, bro. But watch that and you'll end yourself. But Butterbean comes into it to fight Bart Gunn, and again that goes exactly to what Ross says. Where was Vince's like, maybe you shouldn't do this? Like, he's just like, I fight him for real, go for it, you know? Because if Bart Gunn beat Butterbean, that would have told the whole world, you think wrestling's fucking phony, do you? Well, one of our guys who's not even a boxer just owned your guy, you know? And the only time the only time Vince has ever been able to go, exactly, is when Brock went to UFC, and everybody's like, this bitch through the fake fighting, and he came in and fucking ate everybody. And Vince is like, Vince was
Actually,
like that.
it kind of takes me back to a bit in this documentary, where it shows you Dave Schultz slapping the reporter, and I'd seen that before. And I genuinely just thought that Dave Schultz was fucking raging and just did it, but apparently it was Vince who hinted at them, hinted at everybody to take this guy out, and he was the one that did it.
And what do you think? What do you think Schultz's like? What do you think was in his mind after that? What do you think he would be perceived from?
He's going to put me over.
I'll get bigger on the card because he'll respect me. He'll see I'm a tough guy. I'll get higher up in the card. No, he got fucking sacked.
Aye. Well, I was going to say that because I've never heard of that guy other than that incident, and then Hulk Hogan choking out Richard Belzer. That was brutal, man. That was brutal.
You kind of sacked the golden goose.
Yeah,
it's been demonstrated many times that if you're a big name, they're not getting shot at you. That even the whole curtain call, they cover that in this documentary. That
was something I hadn't seen before, obviously, and that was cool. And the fact that they did it knowing that like it was going to really ruffle feathers, but
very pivotal, baby. If that never happened, see if that didn't happen, Austin 316 doesn't say I just whooped your ass and we're not off to the races. That is so important. Like if that never happened, it doesn't set off the chain of events that then make WWE what it is today. Because Stone Cold would never have done the King of the Ring. He'd have never cut that Austin 316 promo.
How is it today?
The best it's ever been. Today, WWE.
Right.
The best it's ever been. When you're talking figures, when you're talking its reach, it's Disney. It's wrestling Disney. And even me, who's a fan that like there comes periods of time in wrestling when you're like, this shit's fucking pish. Even I'm like, what the fuck? Mania there was phenomenal. And I was so since Vince's absence, I believe that Triple H has started to really put stock in several superstars now, rather than being one.
So Triple H is in charge now.
Yeah. Well, he's in charge creatively.
Right. So who actually owns the business now?
Endeavor, a guy called Ari Emanuel, the guy that owns UFC and WWE now.
Right.
So the company Endeavor have just purchased WWE and UFC.
Right.
So it's going to get even bigger than it ever was. So today, the industry is healthy. There's so many places to work. A lot of people are making a lot more money. So it's great.
Well, that's the again something that comes out in this document. McMahon, in the grand scheme of things, didn't pay his wrestlers very well. That's why they all fucked off to WCW.
Well, by the way, can I just even say, and this is something that still shocks me, right? And something that has to, in the next couple of years, change about wrestling. Vince McMahon has his performers down as independent contractors, which means that they don't get their they don't get all the benefits of the company. They don't get pensions. They don't get insurance.
That's why Ventura was wanting to unionize.
100%, right? Now, get this.
See, I know this. I shouldn't know this.
But get this. They're independent contractors that can't go and work anywhere else, right? That if a movie deal comes along, it has to all, like, they're basically independent contractors who are not independent contractors. They've got to pay their own flights, mostly, right? They've got to pay their own accommodations. Like, they don't get any reimbursement from the company at all, right? They're handled like they're journeymen, when in fact, they're not treated like journeymen, which is wrong. I don't know how they're getting away with it. And I would have thought with Endeavor buying the company that would maybe straighten out, that maybe they will get a pension, that they will get, because a lot of these wrestlers who have then died, again, back to what Donna had says about Vince not taking responsibility for the people that died, people left wrestling many years ago and didn't leave with so much money saved, right? Because wrestling, to wrestle, you've got to sink a lot of your own money in it, right? And I get time and time again, wrestlers are always saying, yeah, I make $100,000 a year, but it costs me like 75 grand a year to make the town, to rent the car, to get my flights, to get the, you know what I mean? So he's like, so I'm actually only making this to live, and I'm never home because I'm always on the road. Do you know what I mean? So I think that shit still needs dealt with, because that was a Vince McMahon mindset. And I think they really need to change that. I'm going to go to the comments here, quite a few right now. Donna says, Trish was one of the divas who said Vince didn't do anything with her. I highly doubt it due to their storyline where you see Vince stick his tongue down her throat in front of his wife, albeit was a storyline. I don't think for a second Trish was 100% on board with that. Well, one thing I'll say about Trish, by the way, right? I think she probably didn't do anything behind the scenes. Why? Well, if she was, I think Vince was like, well, you don't want to date behind the scenes? Cool. Right, well, so you know I'm writing you into this story where I have an affair and it's with you and I get to do all these things.
He seemed to write himself a lot of these stories where he was getting to fondle people, didn't he?
I know, right?
It's making me think that these allegations might actually be true. It's still allegations, though. It's under federal investigation.
No smoke, eh? So, the fact that he did all that on camera with Trish makes me think that she maybe didn't. But here's another thing: Trish Stratus, right, has children and is married to the guy that she was with before she started WWE. So, I'm thinking this: if I'm married to my missus and she goes off and works for WWE and comes back and is like, by the way, the boss, I had to. Not only am I like stabbing shit at him, right, but I'm going to out that to the world, right? But she seems to have a good relationship with her husband and has never really said anything. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I can't say, oh well, he gave her so much else in return, right? It can't be multi-millions.
Chlamydia.
It can't be multi-millions because she's not retired, right? So he can't have given her all that. And it definitely wasn't that he made her the biggest star in WWE, because she wasn't. She's iconic for the work she's done, but it was never clear cut like, oh, favoritism. Do you know? So that's my opinion. Could be wrong. Janine Calder says, hello, Kevin. Hello, Janine. Hope you're well and enjoying this fine Sunday night. Hope you like wrestling. Matthew says, I remember we used to come in from the pub on a Friday and watch ECW. It was mad back in the day. Hey, Matthew, anybody that hears those three letters ECW, if it doesn't make you feel something, you weren't there. ECW was a different time, and ECW helped create what WF became in the Attitude Era.
That did look mental. I don't think I've ever heard of ECW. So
extreme.
When I seen it and that, I was like, that actually looks safe. It's like they're still trying to be as safe as they can, but that's still
mate, ECW, half of them didn't know how to wrestle. So it's not like they were doing it safely. They just were going for it. Do you know what I mean? Some of the guys that came through ECW, Stone Cold Steve Austin became Stone Cold in ECW. That's where he learned to really talk. And the guy that ran ECW at that time was Paul Heyman, one of the greatest as far as the mind for the business, and one of the greatest speakers on the mic is Paul Heyman, who was in this documentary. I think I've got a picture of him right here. No,
is the wee guy with the tash?
No, he has.
Oh no, he looks like the guy that plays one of the McDonald brothers and the founder. Aye. He's
the only guy I didn't bring a picture up of. Look, there's wee Steph.
She's beautiful, by the way. Look at him. Like, mate, can you please find a picture of the Riddlers and bring it up?
I will before the show.
Seriously, man, look at him.
That's Vinnie Mac.
But you know what's funny? He looked the same for about 15, 20 years. Like, he didn't seem to age much, and then all of a sudden, he just looks.
He is horrific. One of one, though. By the way, he's one of one. He the way he lives his life is so like. Do you know that Vince McMahon will go in a bad mood if he sneezes? Because if he sneezes, he's like, the sneeze won, and will literally be pissed off.
He's a psychopath.
100% that is him. Like raging. Yeah. He won't eat fried food. He will not eat with his hands. He's a specific individual. And that's what I thought we were going to get from this documentary. Wolfman's Got Nerd says, my intro to wrestling was WWF Primetime Wrestling. I'm old as fuck. Mate, that's going back. I wasn't alive at the time. But I did catch it up on VHS tapes from a place called Fleming's.
Are there any other good wrestling movies apart from the Iron Claw?
No Holds Barred. Hey, Antifreeze, mate. We've seen some of the best.
No. That's films with wrestlers in them. I mean wrestling films.
Yes, go and watch The Wrestler with Mickey Rourke.
I hated that.
Insight. Did you?
I really
wonder
hated
if you
that.
watched it now with a bit more knowledge of wrestling, if you would like it then.
I don't know. I just found it really, really boring. And it was like Mickey Rourke's big comeback film.
Yeah.
And I just didn't get it. I just did not get it. And I'm all for a film that you like. I like a lot of films that people say are boring.
Mm-hmm.
But
yeah, that's true.
Do you know what I mean? Like I know that obviously Wolfman, he liked it. You liked it. Loads of people liked it. It won awards. I think did Marissa Tomei get an Oscar for that?
Hopefully.
Or another nomination. And he certainly got nominations. But I don't know. I think I was wanting to see more wrestling in it. And Suburban Commando is low-key top tier, 100%.
We covered that on this show. Go back and watch it, mate. And we fucking loved it. Antifreeze! So good.
I like the bit where he's having the kind of argument with the next door neighbours about the car. Now I can sympathise with that. I've got neighbours that fuck about with cars all the time, and he's just like he said, "Do you know what we're going to do to you?" He's like, "Let me guess, you're going to pound my face in." And then he goes on and he's like, "Man, this is the '90s. I'm going to sue you." So that's a great line.
I'm going to sue you. Todd surprised the man himself.
There he is.
He was there the night Owen Hart unfortunately fell. I watched wrestling here in KC, which is Kansas City, back in the 70s, 80s through the 2000s, Attitude Era, along the old NWA was great. WAF was like little kid wrestling in the 90s. 100%. Todd, he's a legend, man.
He's our only million view video.
Exactly.
Thank
all you
Todd.
other guests needs to step it up. Even you, Billy Bob Thornton, you need to step it up. Hey,
actually, Todd, here's a funny thing, Todd. Do you know what we get for that million views? Fuck all.
Yeah, Todd, this is you over Billy Bob Thornton. You're like this. Todd's like this. Yep, Billy, you're coming for me. You're coming. Hey, do you know what's funny? I don't think Billy Bob Thornton's even in our top viewed videos ever. Like he's not.
That's mad, eh?
Mentally, Todd, you own Billy Bob Thornton, mate. You've made him you a bitch. I'll tell him that next time he comes on. Nard says, "You're dead, man, Ramsey." You're dead, man, Ramsey. Donna says the biggest cringe match for me was when MC Foley's teeth.
Mate, I read that as McFoley. I was like, the fuck's McFoley?
Mate, McFoley. That's McFoley like it's McFly. Hello, McFoley. Hello.
I thought it might be Mick Foley and she'd spelled it really badly.
I know, I'm McFoley. But that is who she means. Teeth went through.
She did spend the badly.
She did.
Sorry,
see one of his teeth in his nostril. That's the truth. That was when he got thrown off of the Hell in a Cell. He smashed his teeth and it ended up in his nose.
That's fucking horrible.
Hey, Roman, do not try this at home. Todd says, "Lol, how cool! Thank you, man. This is my claim to fame. I love the show, guys. Hey, everybody should check out the Racing Boys, which is Todd's show. If you're into racing and stuff like that, we're no big racing fans, but we're big Todd Surprise fans. So we'll check out that show purely just because he produces it. So make sure you go and check out Racing Boys. It's racing without a G. That's Racing Boys. Check it out. So Todd will always have his play. He'll be the first inductee of the Jibber Jabber Hall of Fame. Donna laughed or he laughed.
Mick Foley.
Mick Foley. That's a Matthew Mint image just waiting to happen. Mick Foley. It's like Back to the Future Mick Foley. Hello, Mick Foley.
I'm thinking like a fucking burger with a big stupid haircut.
Mick Foley. Yeah, that. Look at that, Mick Foley. Mick Foley. Mick Foley, that's class, man. So it's not even Mick Foley, it's Mick Foley. That's excellent. So this documentary for me didn't hit on all cylinders. It was great to relive my childhood, and I was texting Todd every minute. I was like, Todd, man, they're covering Hogan. That means they're going to get to Austin. Then they'll get to the end. Well, they'll get to NWO, then Austin. And for me, it was just like straight back through the nostalgia, man. So I loved it for that reason. Todd says, I just left Kansas Speedway just now. NASCAR is in town to come watch the show. Ah, no way, mate. Hey.
Oh, wow.
NASCAR's a big deal there as well, eh?
Aye. Actually, did you never see the Top Gear episode where they were driving through America, and
did they not put a flag on it or something?
Well, they were in Alabama, and they were all told to decorate each other's cars in ways that might annoy people.
Oh no!
So I think it was Jeremy painted on the side of Richard Hammond's pickup truck, "Man Love Rules." Right?
Oh no!
And on James's car, I think it said "Country and Western is rubbish," and Hillary for president, and NASCAR sucks.
Wow.
And they end up getting fucking stones thrown at them at a petrol station.
Mental. What a way to wind folk up, eh? There it is, ladies and gents.
The wee garage owner comes out and she's like, "Are y'all gay trying to get beat up in a hick town?" He's like, "No, I'm not gay. I'm married."
To a man. A lovely man. Racing Boys, right there, folks. RacingBoys.com. Hit the www.racingboys.com. Go and check out Todd's cool show. I've only watched episode 1 of McMahon. Going to watch rest tomorrow. Todd, all it is for you, my friend, is it's a trip back down memory lane from all the good stuff from wrestling. But by the way, we covered, us collectively, you, me, and J-Mac, we covered Owen Hart's story much better than this documentary did, because many folk were like, that's the first time I've seen blood on the apron. I'm like, obviously have they checked their episode out then, eh? So
I would say I don't think Todd will learn a lot for this series.
Seeing as he was on like the second fucking row.
Yeah. I mean about everything. Obviously he's a big
here's another
fan.
thing. Vince McMahon says, we kept the show going because nobody saw Owen fall. Todd, just confirm in the comments, my friend, from the second row. Did you see Owen fall?
Like just at that moment. In fact, do you know the thing is? There's every chance that now, if it happened, people wouldn't have seen it, because when there's nothing happen, everybody's just on their phones, right?
Yep.
But back then, no, you're just watching. Like at least a tenth of the people in that stadium probably were looking at the ring when it happened.
Well, he said nope. So he never saw it. So you only saw Owen lying there, burst. Because that's right. Because in our episode with Todd, he said, he heard, and then he heard the boards break, like whack, and there was dust, and then he said we didn't know he died until the end, because the audience never knew that he had died, which was haunting. Watching the big screen, hey, Todd's the man to everybody. Growing up, Kevin and I shared a room for a while, and one corner of the room I wasn't allowed near was Kevin's toy wrestling ring and his Titantron with all the figures. I remember playing with it when he was out.
Oh, you've just dobbed yourself in there, Hen. He's going to text you the news. He's coming round. Look, that's the I'm coming round to your house face.
The Titantron played all the classic entrance songs. It started.
What's the Titantron? Never heard of that.
It's the rampway. It's where they come out of.
Ah, right, okay.
So the Titantron is the thing at the top. The
what a fucking stupid name.
The Titantron. Vince names everything.
I know, the Titantron. Oh man, Vince McMahon. I'll say this on record, right? Vince McMahon's a total wanker, isn't he?
He's mental.
He's a total wanker.
Todd says, yeah, they were showing a promo by the Blue Blazer. Lights were out, so in the arena we didn't see him fall until he hit and lights came up. Crazy. But he still knew that something had gone down. But I suppose Vince might have a point. Yeah.
But to me, Vince McMahon seems like the restaurant owner that takes the waiters' tips.
That's true. And he is, because the way that they're handled as the sole traders, which is out of order. The fact that we get to the fact, like, this all comes out. No one ever thought Vince McMahon would retire. Anybody that knows wrestling would know Vince was too much of a control freak. No way he would retire. The fact he retired and then came back and got rid of all the board members that wanted him gone is so Vince McMahon. That is so Vince McMahon, right? That I fucking love it. No loving all the allegations and that. 100% Vince was more about the cash and the pay-per-view. Yeah, it's hard to dispute that at this point, especially when you see what he says at the end of the documentary, Todd. For Vince to have left and then come back and then more stuff come out about him taking shits on that woman's head. She's hired a PR firm as well, by the way. Janelle Grant is her name. She's hired a PR firm. What's your thoughts on that? Well,
it seems a bit. Seems a bit. Not like cash grabbing off of your trauma,
100%. Well, if you're going to be traumatized, might as well make something for you. Donna says, "What wrestling buddies did you have?" Goldberg and Hollywood Hulk Hogan. And he used to say, "You're breaking my arm."
Did you have the wrestling buddies for Look Who's Talking?
100%.
Oh, no way.
100%, mate. You joking?
Oh,
I'm gutted I don't still have them. I actually went to a market recently and I saw them in somebody's van and I thought, he's one of those arseholes that's like, yeah, this is vintage. This is going to cost you 400 quid. It's like, but your jizz stains are still on it for the 90s, pal. No, thank you. Right?
Oh, is that got jizz stains on it? That one's $500.
These are my kids you're talking about, Or my kids. 100%. So because of the nick they were in, I was like, no, I can't do it. But I was so close to getting them again. It was one of those things, over time, these wrestling buddies, they fade away. There's only so many times you can fight with them.
Like wrestling buddies probably cost about 30 quid back in 1994. They're just fucking cushions.
That's all they are. Which was weird. Their nose was like out, and you could go this with their nose, and you'd go, "Get off my nose!" I'm like, I know Hogan's voice, and that's no Hogan's voice.
Well, they got Tom Hanks's brother to do all the fucking Woody toys, so maybe they got Hulk Hogan's brother to do
it. Brother. Well, get this. Hogan, right? There was a deal set up in the early years of WCW that whenever you bought a wrestling toy, whether it was Chris Jericho, Sting, when you rang it up, the receipt would always say Hulk Hogan. And do you know why that was? Because they set it up so that they could pay Hogan royalties as part of his contract. So that all the other guys that were like, "Where's my royalties?" They were all like deflated because it all went to Hogan. It was part of paying him his contract.
So it seems to me like a more worthwhile documentary series would be on Hulk Hogan.
I can't wait for that.
An expose on him and all the shittery that he did would be probably more interesting than this. I don't think they dove deep enough into this.
Oh,
I think that's my problem here. And I was expecting, like, made by the folk that made Tiger King, I was expecting something that was going to be really deprecating, like really ruining this guy's character, because he seems like the type of person that fucking deserves it. And that's not what I got. And that's why I was disappointed. It's not a bad documentary. It's just not the one that you would expect.
Especially with even the artwork. I totally agree. Donna says they go for 100 to 150 on eBay now. Holy schmoly. Tried to get Kevin one for his birthday. Oh, that would have been excellent, man. But it was too expensive. He got the milk carton from the Lost Boys instead, which I'm very thankful for. So, yes.
That's cool.
That is class as hell. Carnation milk. Phenomenal. That's quite gutting. That's quite gutting. But they were class as hell. There are loads of YouTube videos about Hulk Hogan's bullshittery. Ross, 100%. I would say an expose would be good on Hogan. It would be entertaining, but we know everything. Like, there's nothing he can deny because there's video evidence in nearly everything. There's even a point, right? Everybody that's never heard this, please, and you after the show as well, J-Mac, go onto YouTube and type in Hulkster in Heaven, right? It's a really terrible song that has him singing on it on one of his albums that Simon Cowell produced. And it's like Hulkster in Heaven. And it's about the fact that Jimmy Hart played the music for it as me greeting. But Hulkster in Heaven is a song that apparently Hogan was like, Hogan was like, "I'll see you out there to a Make-A-Wish kid who was dying of cancer." Right, and when he went out to fight in Wembley Arena, right, when he was in the ring, he looked over and the parents are like, "He's dead."
That's Kevin. That's no funny.
No, but the thing is, it's not true. If your kid dies, right?
Oh
Like,
no! Do you think it was a setup?
100%. Do you know how I know
God,
this?
that's
Do you know how I
even
know it?
worse.
Because Hogan didn't wrestle in Wembley at the time that he said he did. It doesn't match up.
Right.
It's been everybody's been like, wait a minute, Hogan. You said it was during this time. You're like, we were never even there in Wembley at that time. So it's all bullshit. It's to pull at the heartstrings. Hulkster in
Just
heaven.
imagining that.
Oh, mate.
An empty seat in between them.
Do you know what it reminds me of? What's the film? What's the film where is it Not Another Teen Movie? Where it's like Reggie. How many more times is it till Reggie hits his head? He's only got 2 more left, and there's a scoreboard, and then he hits his head for the last time, and somebody looks down and just goes, like, fuck off, fuck off. Before we wrap up the show, would you like me to play Hulkster in Heaven on the show?
Aye, fuck it. We'll get a copyright strike for the Netflix trailer anyway. So.
Oh, 100%. And do you know what I thought? I thought there's enough in that trailer from all the keywords they're saying, like abuse and all that. I thought that's really good. I'm going to have to really fight this one. I'm really going to have to fight this one. So I'll play it before we leave, right? But one thing I'll say is I enjoyed this documentary because it was a trip down memory lane. I think it's a great piece if you ever want to learn about wrestling, or your friend says, "Oh no, I don't know this wrestling stuff." I would say give that to them. Say, watch this. This will tell you everything you really need to know, the abridged version of it. In real, like, do you know what I mean? There's much more that you can go into. There's thousands and thousands and probably millions of hours of things you could listen to about the wrestling industry that I have listened to. But that is an abridged version of basically everything, right? From then till now to know all about the story of WWF, WWE. So do that. But as far as telling you anything you didn't already know, like, I learned nothing from it.
Yeah,
but it was still fun, and see the excitement of going, there's 6 episodes, 6 hours in wrestling shit that I've not seen.
I was a bit concerned about it because I had to watch it all the day.
Do you know what's funny? I said that to my wife earlier. I goes, I wonder if Jordan realised that this is a 6-parter, right? I said, and he's going to go an hour before the show and put it on and go, oh no.
I was actually I started watching it at about 12:30 this afternoon. So I did manage to just get through it all. But I was actually considering maybe making this the one where I never watched it and had to pretend that I did.
I knew it. Do you know that?
But I didn't. I actually couldn't do that to you on this one because I know this one would have meant a lot to you.
I thought, no, he'll come through on the wrestling one. He always does. Tell me if you can hear this straight up. Can you hear that?
Yep. Oh, yes.
Right. So we'll say our goodbyes to everybody now, right? Because it's going to be an absolute blast here, right? Thank you very much for tuning in tonight. It's been an absolute blast. Stick with us. We've got some cool stuff coming up in the next couple of weeks. Hopefully. Well, we do. Cool stuff coming up. Thank you for tuning in. These are an absolute lovely bunch. Thanks to everybody. And like, subscribe, and all that cool stuff if you want. If you don't, cool. But it's been an absolute ball having you here tonight talking about this. Thank you. J-Mac, anything you want to say before we listen to this absolute?
I really need a pee, so let's go.
Right. This is about Hogan writing a song for a kid that was dying in Wembley Arena.
I read it in the papers. I saw it on TV. I guess it'll be one empty seat when I wrestle at Wimbledon. I used to tear my shirt, but now you tore my heart. I knew you were a Hulkamaniac right from the very start. Right from the start, you were I'll see you again. When the poster comes to heaven, we'll tag up again.
They actually released this song, man. That's
Yes.
It's playing it on a Casio keyboard.
Oh man, I played at my funeral. I swear to God. This was the B-side of his cover. Gary Glitter's leader of the gang. Of course.
Back in the ring. You know we'll win this fight. I wish you were here at ringside to cheer me on tonight.
Wait, how did they convince him to do this?
Now it's not on
No,
me.
he was all for this. He wrote this
Prayers
apparently.
we said together.
He
Oh,
wrote
you can
this.
tell.
Still our guarantee.
That's to be.
I don't think I can listen to any more of that, man.
Mate, that's getting blasted in the car till my kids are singing it. That's what I'm saying. Thank you again, ladies and gents, and we will see you next Sunday at 9 p.m.
See you later.